Bonjour mes amis, hi guys. Well, grail achieved. I mentioned my goal for this year would be to add a heavy-hitting diver, and yesterday I made the move on a Sea-Dweller 4000, the 40mm discontinued Sea-Dweller, produced only from 2014 to 2017, when it was replaced by the 43mm Redline anniversary model. It took a while to click in my head, but when it did, I knew just what to do. To me, this is the modern Rolex diver to own, as it marries looks with performance like no other. Let's backtrack a bit. So I took my son on a minibus destination Mongkok on the other side of the Hong Kong harbor. We took a minibus, which is always a near-death experience, and landed amongst the many second-hand luxury shops of that very crowded commercial era. Loads of Chinese tourists raid the many Rolex 80s every morning, so you'll be hard-pressed to ever find a sports model anymore. Let's not dwell on that today. No pun intended. First watch I try is a gorgeous two-tone Daytona. The shopkeeper is cagey as hell. No papers, of course, so God knows what this is. For all I know, it is a stolen redial with a Chinese movement in it. Or maybe it usually is real, in that kind of shops. Maybe it's real and it's a gorgeous Daytona that I really should buy. But to be honest, I'm not yet sold on the Daytona. It's another watch for another watch safari. More in tune with my quest of the day was a two-tone sub black dial, not the bluesy. I love that watch, but the sub does have those mega lugs that give it a certain look. Love it or hate it, I like it a lot, but again, no papers, who knows what's going on here. Decent price, but I know of another shop further that sells the same watch full set in top condition for the same price. Sadly, that shop wouldn't open for another 2 hours. But the shop owner did send me pics and details about the watch later on, and it's legit and 15% cheaper than at the AD. I could have done for that, but my quest took me deeper into Mongkok. So my next was the real target, watch only, so no box, no papers, SD4000 in a little shop. First impression, terrible. Full of scratches, and then I noticed loads of white paint residue inside the clasp and horror under the crown. These guys were asking over 10 grand for this trash timepiece, which with the papers could have been overhauled for free by Rolex. But no papers means this would be your piece of trash to deal with. Sorry. But they had the previous version, the 16600 there. No papers, but minty. The difference in price is huge, 40% cheaper. That reference is one of the longest running in Rolex history. So those are plentiful, and while the price is good, the watch, although also 40mm, looks smaller on my wrist. That's the magic of Rolex. They can make 40mm look like 39, 40, 41, 42, just by working on subtle visual clues. The maxi dial being one, the lugs another, the width of the bezel yet another. I'm told, so although lovely, the 16600 isn't what I want. I want the modern bells and whistles and a watch that looks right on my wrist. Moving on, I see a gorgeous 166221. Yachtmaster two-tone blue dial, minty with papers. I almost blew my load right there, and I know I would have been just as happy, but I decided to keep on track. Just when I was about to run out of shops to visit, there it was, a mint 2015 Sea-Dweller 4000 with papers and the names not filled, so I can put mine or just leave it blank. Just the date is on it, so it makes it legit. It's got the tags, the protective cover there for the bezel. So it's the real deal. You get the seal, all the links, they're here now on the bracelet. Basically, it's a collector's piece. about $1,300 more than the trashed one I had seen before, but I knew this was it. So what makes this the perfect modern diver in my view? As I said, you get all the modern bells and whistles, and they matter a lot. The maxi dial, you know, with the large indices and larger hands. Incredible bezel action. Let me put it next to the microphone. It's just perfect, perfect, perfect. You get the glide lock in the clasp, as you can see here. So you have infinite positions to get the right fit. I've already used 3 different ones this morning. You know, when I wake up, it's one size. When I go out in the heat of Hong Kong, the humidity is a different size. When I get to the office, it's much thinner. You get the Rolex on the rehaut, serial number at the bottom. So this one pretty much stands alone in the lineup, because despite being thicker and rated 4 times deeper than a sub, it looks more elegant and smaller on the wrist from the top because it has nicely profiled lugs. As a link to the past, the date window doesn't have a cyclops, so you get the functionality of a date window without sacrificing the symmetry. One sized, this one weighs in at 164 grams. It's not light, but it's not heavy. You know you're wearing a serious bit of kit, but it's manageable. The feel on the wrist is good, as the substantial modern clasp provides a good counterbalance. We'll see how it feels in the long run, but as Sea-Dwellers go, this is near perfection. This watch is from Jan 2015, so I still have several months to bring it to the Rolex service center located right next to my office if I want it serviced. In a way, I wouldn't mind giving it the free once over, but on the other hand, you never know how your watch might be mishandled and damaged. It might not be worth tempting the devil on a watch that was obviously hardly ever worn and probably won't need a real movement overhaul for another 5 years. Let me know what you think in the comments about this. I think it's worth considering seriously. I was cheeky enough to go to a big Rolex 80 with the watch right away to have it sized. They sure did not have any watch as cool as this in the shop. Does it mean my thirst for Rolex is quenched? No, of course not. Now I need a Datejust. I've been eyeing a real stunner two-tone Datejust 2 that screams look at me, but would bring great colors in my collection while being on point with the current two-tone trend. In case you hadn't noticed the hints, Rolex and Tudor have been pumping out more and more two-tones, even slapping the precious metal onto the bloody Sea-Dweller 43. That's probably a step too far, and in 5 years we'll look back at this as a what the f moment, and in 20 years we'll look back at this as a collector's delight moment. That's the magic of Rolex, keeping the same design but adding little twists and turns to lead the customer on to another aesthetic journey. I hope you've enjoyed my first experience with this amazing grail watch, a watch that has no match in my mind in the current and previous Rolex lineup and amongst other brands. I'll finish by comparing this with my affordable alternative, the Seiko Shogun. The Seiko is made of titanium, so it's a comfortable, very modern looking piece. If you love Seiko like me, it's a really amazing watch to behold. The lume is, you have the bluish lume on the Rolex that lasts long. On the Seiko here, you have basically a flashlight. The green lume is really potent. And in the daytime, you have that nice little grayish hue to it. I like the hands. It's a very good looking watch. Good bezel action as well. But very different, it's the sound of titanium. Everything is titanium here with a press clasp, but everything does the job well with a beautiful crown. You can see the two side by side. The Seiko is bigger. The Rolex is just, well, it's a Rolex. It's very crisp, very beautiful. And for good measure, I also have my double red Steinhardt. So it's the homage of the original, the double red line. A very different look. But again, Rolex never really changes all that much the design, so you can see it's still the same family, but just a different evolution of the watch. I still like the Steinhardt. It's not that comfortable on the wrist. It's kind of heavy, 42 millimeters, but it has its charm. Eventually, I'm gonna have to get rid of all that and just focus on my heavy hitters. So as you can see, the path inevitably leads to getting that Rolex that you really wanted. We'll discuss this in a longer video soon, but I can give you a hint already. Save your money and get your grail, it's worth it. That is, if you're comfortable wearing 11 grand on your wrist, which I wouldn't do in a place like London, for example. In Hong Kong, it's okay, everybody has a Rolex on the wrist. I mean, it's almost too much. And this one, it's not that different visually to most people. It's like a Submariner. And every kid, every hairdresser, every taxi driver, even the assistant at school at my kid's school is wearing a Sub. Whether it's real or not, that's the thing. Maybe many of them are fakes, maybe. But it's kind of a rite of passage here in Hong Kong, and everybody has it. And the saying here is that Rolex is money. So people, you have 10 grand, you put it in a Rolex, and hopefully it will increase in value. It makes sense to have it. You're wearing it for free, you're enjoying it, and you have sort of a status symbol. That's how it is here. Anyway, that's another conversation altogether, although I spoke about it last week already. Talking about whether you can really wear your Rolex if you get a brand new Rolex at the 80 because of the value on the secondary market, because of you don't want to scratch it, you don't want to damage it. But for me, I'm going to wear this one. I'm going to really enjoy it. Life is too short, as you know, so you better have a nice watch on the wrist. Let's focus a bit better on the watch before we quit. As you can see, I got my finally I got a little scale here. Also got a time grapher. I haven't even opened the box yet, but I'm gonna start time graphing everything. This watch is running as you would expect within the superlative specs. So I think it has gained 1.5 seconds over the first day. So -2 + 2. That's the promise of Rolex, and that's what you get. And you can go really deep with this one. All right, speak to you later. Bye bye.